Hey, I just received a message from my company letting us know that a driver had been fired. And I guess you would think, when you hear that a driver had been fired for some sort of behavior, you would think, okay, DUI, reckless driving, poor performance, wasn't delivering on time, wasn't taking care of the customer, reckless driving, seatbelt violation. And the message basically was warning the rest of us that if we get a seatbelt warning or citation, that we will be fired. Now, the reason for this is because of a thing called CSA 2010, which is a new bureaucracy started by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration that gives drivers scores. So regardless if you get a ticket or not, just a warning will give you the same amount of points against your safety record as an actual citation gives you. And if you accumulate enough points, you'll be disqualified from driving. So I'm not really mad at the company for firing this guy. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's uncalled for. But they're put in a box where if their safety score as a carrier is affected by driver citations and driver safety scores, they can lose their authority to carry freight, and they're out of business. And then we're all screwed. But the bigger problem here is this notion that CSA 2010 is in any way going to make the highways any safer. It's not. Not one tenth of 1% will CSA 2010 make the roads any safer. I've driven over 1 million miles in all 48 states. I've driven nearly every mile of interstate in this country in my career. Just this year, since January 8th, I've driven over 93,000 miles in 48 states. If you want someone who's an authority or an expert on highway safety, talk to a truck driver, because we've been out here and we've seen it all. We have allowed this to happen because as a country, we do not take responsibility for our own actions. We blame everybody else. And then we go crying to Washington or crying to the State House or crying to the mayor that somebody's got to fix the problem. You've got these organizations, Parents Against Tired Truckers, Public Citizen. There's another one called Crash, Citizens for Reliable and Safe Highways. And basically these people are the lowest form of scum on the planet because they exploit people, they exploit their tragedy, and they exploit their grief. And if you go to Public Citizen and you look up transportation, I went to their website and checked them out. They have all these stories about, these poor families who have had family members that were killed in, truck accidents. And I'm terribly sorry for their loss. I've experienced it in my own family. I had 2 family members that were killed in a truck wreck. A terrible, tragic, destructive, awful wreck. But it was that guy's fault. It wasn't every truck driver on the planet responsible for that crash. That guy was. And if I'm in a crash and it's my fault, I'm responsible. But this idea that we're going to just place a blanket over everybody on the planet and that's going to fix the problem, it's not. So if you are living under the illusion that you're somehow safe on the highway from other cars or from trucks because the government has put this stuff in effect, you're a fool. And you're living in a dream world. I hate driving a car. Either my pickup truck or my wife's minivan, because I know firsthand how stupid people are. From this vantage point of sitting up, 7-8 feet above the roof of a car, or above the ground, I've seen it all. I've seen people having sex driving down the interstate. You see them I mean, I've seen them smoke weed. I've seen them playing with their laptop, reading a newspaper. I've seen a woman reading a book, driving down the interstate. That was in a car. Now, and truck drivers don't get off the hook here either, because there's the level of stupidity in the trucking industry is at an all-time high. And my theory behind that is when I started in this business in '97, no satellite radio, no iPods, no iPhones. There was nothing to entertain us but each other. So we had the CB radio. And so as a rookie, when I came in, if I did something stupid, somebody would immediately jump on me and tell me about it. And I learned about courtesy on the highway from other drivers, because I'd get a cussing if I did something stupid. And you don't have that now. Drivers don't talk to each other. I've got a CB, hardly ever use it. It never gets turned on. So we've lost that ability to communicate with one another. When I'm driving my wife's minivan and I've got my wife and my children in there with me, I am both offensive and defensive. Offensive to try to get away from the stupid people that are driving with their head up their rear end, and also defensive to try to anticipate the problem. When I pull up to a stoplight, I don't pull right up on the bumper of the car in front of me. I give myself room, because if some idiot comes behind me talking on a cell phone or putting on their lipstick or just generally driving in a haze, and I see them bearing down on me and showing no signs of hitting the brakes, I've got a place to bail out. Because I know the ultimate responsibility lies on me and me alone. I've been involved in 2 crashes in my trucking career. Neither one of them were my fault. The last one was last year. I had a kid drive under my trailer coming down through Columbus. He was flying low in a construction zone. Of course, he told the cop, that I came over on him and I hit him, and he was going the same speed I was. Well, if you look on my, if you've got access to my Facebook page, you can look on there, and there's pictures from the road, and you can see where the top of this car was nearly ripped off because this kid was flying and he lost it. And he ended up under my trailer. And the scary part is, had I not been looking in the mirror and saw what was happening, I never felt it. A Mazda went underneath my trailer and was hit by my trailer tires, and I never felt it. If I would have leaned down to pick up something out of the floor, if I would have sneezed and not looked in my mirror and saw that, I would have never known that I hit him, and I probably would have kept on going. But it caught me in the corner of my eye, and I looked over, and there he was, and he was dead sideways. And before I had the chance to hit the brake or the gas, he was underneath me, and his car was slung out into the ditch. And the car was destroyed. The roof was almost ripped off of it. And he got all mouthy. And his girlfriend, who was sitting in the passenger seat, she was real quiet, because she was about this close to meeting Jesus. So she didn't have a whole lot to say. But I'm getting tired of people sitting around doing nothing while we have allowed these idiots, these morons in Washington, D.C. just to write rule after rule after rule. Because you know who is talking to them? Public Citizen, Parents Against Tire Truckers, Crash, and whatever other lobbying group wants to go up and whatever thing they want to do. They just have free reign to do whatever they please. Because you and I, for the longest time until now, that's when I'm doing these videos. I'm using it to get my voice out, to at least say, hey, I didn't have anything to do with it, because I'm not putting up with that crap. A seatbelt violation. Think about that. A man lost his job over a seatbelt violation. Wasn't DUI, wasn't reckless driving, wasn't a crash, a seatbelt violation. Let that sink in for a second. Seatbelt violation. Who's going to be hurt? If he's drunk, if he's driving reckless, if he's speeding, yeah, he's going to hurt other people. But a seatbelt violation? And drivers can lose their careers if I get a seatbelt violation? Here's the thing. If I make a mistake, I'm going to crash. Plain and simple. If I let my guard down, driving this truck, I'm going to crash. And if you're in my way, when I do it, you're going to get hurt. See, you have to be on guard all the time. I do. There's an old long-time joke that says truck drivers can see through sheet metal because generally we can see, we can anticipate what some car's going to do next because we've just learned over time that they're going to pull over in front of us and slam on the brakes and then wonder why they got run over by a truck. But this has got to stop. It's almost making me ashamed to be an American that our society has become such a bunch of pansies. And we just expect Washington to take care of all of our problems. It's just a sad state. And now I'm driving down the road in fear. Well, I better put my seatbelt on because if somebody sees me, I'll lose my job. That's where we've come to. And it's a bad place to be. And I just don't know if there's any coming back from it. I think we're pretty much done.